around.
I want to do the subject we came here to do tonight.
Yes, we have something that we want to talk to you about, and we're finding that the model that most people have for relationships, they have inherited through songs and poems and stories and movies, and almost all of those relationships are filled with drama and conflict.
And pain
And suffering and blame and making people wrong, and you know, trying to fix the other person so that I can feel better or you can feel better. And so, as you've probably noticed if you've watched our show, our message is always about where is your responsibility in it? How can you take your power back and actually own your relationship and your place in it and how it's turning out? So we want to talk to you about that because we have noticed that, well, we're going to call this addictive relationships, or codependent relationships. It is the model for most relationships in which there is an idea that has been put forth, again, through songs, that I need you to complete me, or you complete me. You know, there was even a line in a movie in an elevator where two people signed to each other, "You complete me," and that was so romantic, and everybody went, "Ah," you know. And well, that's sweet, but it leads to it is the division in the road. It is the place in the path where you start heading off away from, without even noticing it, heading away from a healthy relationship and into a codependent and addictive relationship, the outcome of which is fairly predictable, at least by us, because we've seen so much of it. And what we predict is that there will be abuses in that relationship, there will be infidelities in that relationship, there will be anger and blaming in that relationship. There will be destructive behavior that ends up in people separating, either having what we call an in-house divorce. That's where you're living in the same house, but you're no longer really man and wife. You no longer have sex together. You no longer share intimate moments together. You no longer treat each other as a friend and a trusted ally. You no longer make plans for the future together that are exciting and romantic and loving. It's an in-house divorce.
Yeah, you're holding each other hostage. In other words, you keep the person in the boxing ring so that every once in a while, when you really feel like it, you can go over there and punch their eyes out.
Fairness. People come into these kind of relationships without the proper, without being able to see and identify the signs that that's the way they're going. I was using the example as I was speaking to Azita about this. You know, when we go home, there's a highway here in Los Angeles. A lot of people watching will know this. It's called Highway 101. And it's going, and at one point it seems to go straight ahead, but if you go straight ahead, it's Highway 134. So there's all these lanes and stripes on the road, and if you're on the wrong side of one of those stripes, you'll go to Pasadena. If you're on the right side of one of those stripes, you'll go to Los Angeles. And, you know, we go home that way and we go to Los Angeles, and you know, if we're busy talking or we're not paying attention, you could end up on the highway going to Pasadena, and then it's kind of a big hassle to get turned around and get back on the right highway. So I was using that analogy because people go into relationships and everything's great. You know, they're in love, they are attracted to each other, there's chemistry, there's compatibility, you know, there's communication. They're so into each other that they just don't notice that the highway is dividing and one is heading towards an addictive, codependent relationship, which looks kind of familiar because it's what they've seen in the movies and heard about in the songs. Their parents were probably in one. All of their friends are in one, so they feel kind of at home in that type of relationship, at least in the beginning.
They don't see the signs.
The other sign, which is kind of subtle, leads towards having a responsible, interdependent relationship in which each person is independent and chooses to depend on the other.
Right.
So you're depending because of choice. You're free to take back your independence at any moment, and your independence is established by maintaining certain healthy boundaries in your relationship. It's not about merging and becoming one and completing each other, which is kind of a beginning way of looking at relationships. We want to begin to give you the signs so that you can recognize the road that's leading to divorce about 6 years down the road, if not 3, or a lifetime of romantic love that's juicy and fun and romantic and intimate and powerful, in which you'll have a chance to develop every part of yourself with a partner and have a witness for your life. Somebody who actually is there during your triumphs and your failures. Somebody to share your life with in a very meaningful way, and actually have that be a contribution to the rest of the people in your world, and ultimately to the world at large, and to your children and the world they grow up in. So that's really what we're up to here, is beginning to show you the signs, how to have that kind of relationship. And, you know, that's one stage, is the beginning. Now, some people, a lot of people watching this show are already way down the road, and they've taken up residence and bought a home in the town where it's codependent relationship city. And, you know, we want to begin to show you the signs. There's really nothing to do but to make a U-turn and to begin to forge a path towards a healthy relationship. It's an entirely different task to pull yourself out of that type of relationship and to take that, and I don't mean, we're not talking about divorcing someone, we're not talking about leaving the mother or father of your children or breaking up your family. We're talking about taking your entire family, your mate and your children, into a new realm of possibility in relationships. And that is a much, much harder work than noticing the signs and taking the right road in the first place. You know, in the security world, it's much harder to get a burglar out of your house once he's in than it is to keep one out of your house while he's still out. You know, so it's harder to redesign a relationship that's very enmeshed in this type of activity, this type of relating. It's much more difficult to do that than it is to design a relationship from the start that is healthy and self-healing. And we want to give you the tools to do that. That's what we're up to in this show.
The first thing is, we'll give you the tools. And here's you want to recognize if you are in one of those relationships, okay? So here's what codependent relationships look like. So
you can never control other people's behavior in a relationship. You know, if you're you know, in the military, or if you're in law enforcement or something like that, you may be able to control other people's behavior temporarily. But in a relationship, you want to talk about being effective in your communications and not efficient. Efficiency applies to things. It applies to inanimate objects. You know, you want to be efficient when it comes to certain things. But when it comes to human beings and relationships, you want to be effective. And effective communication means that it's actually communication that moves something forward. Something that's stuck gets unstuck. Something that's held back gets freed up. Something that's suppressed gets the lid off it so that it actually can breathe and become fulfilled. That would be effective communication and effective behavior. In those relationships that you're talking of, that we're talking about, where there is ongoing behavior that is repetitive, it is an attempt to resolve an issue, and the issue that it is attempting to resolve never has anything to do with the present moment. It always has something to do with the past.